Today's very special extra edition of the BS Podcast on the Ringer Podcast Network, brought to you, as always, by ZipRecruiter. They are the smartest way to hire. They find people with the right skills for your job. They actively invite them to apply. Right now, my listeners can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/BS. We are also brought to you by SeatGeek, the best app for buying and selling tickets to sporting events, concerts, and more. For $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase on any game or sporting event, use promo code BS. Download the SeatGeek app or go right to SeatGeek.com. Finally, we are brought to you by The Big Picture, The Ringer's new movie podcast, hosted by Sean Fennessy, mostly. It's his podcast that was on Channel 33. We have moved it to its own feed. It launches this week. It has interviews that Sean did with filmmakers and actors and actresses and all kinds of people in the industry. It's going to have a weekly Oscars thing from probably starting next week all the way through the Oscars watch, who's up in the categories, gambling advice, all kinds of things. And then it's going to be a place that we review movies as well. And if you have listened to this podcast or have missed this podcast this week, you've already done 2 podcasts. Cousin Sal, as always, Sunday nights this year. And then I did a podcast yesterday. Talked to Shea Serrano. We broke down the new Halloween movie. We talked about the upcoming the first week of the NBA season. And then Quavo came on and we talked about a whole bunch of stuff, including an idea that I'm very excited about. Let's talk about that right after we get to our friends from Pearl Jam. All right, we have Hasan Minhaj coming up in a little bit. An interview I taped a couple weeks ago, but it's really good. We've been holding it because his new Netflix show premieres this weekend on Netflix. We're going to get to him in 1 second. I mentioned Quavo on the podcast. We did the transcript as well on The Ringer, and it was an idea that I was fired up about. He's basically could not believe that we have the Super Bowl in Atlanta, and for whatever reason, they decided to have Maroon 5 as the halftime act instead of dipping into 25 years of, Atlanta hip hop, Atlanta rap, everything. And I think that scene, the music scene there, as he pointed out in the podcast, has a unique connection to the city that transcends even what goes on in New York or LA, where in a lot of ways, the music culture there forms the whole culture of Atlanta and touches it in every conceivable way. And he was just bemoaning what a missed opportunity was. And eventually we landed on an idea that he should just form that show anyway. And then as soon as it kicks into halftime for the NFL game, you either flip channels or go to somewhere on the internet. And all of a sudden there's the greatest Atlanta concert of all time, capturing the music and the city and everything. I think we might actually do this. We're talking about it. It might happen. We might have our own special halftime show. So details to come on that. But thanks for all the feedback on that, because people seemed excited about that idea. I would not rule it out. I would not rule out a special Atlanta halftime show featuring everybody, featuring 3 decades of artists and music and all that stuff. But anyway, if you missed that, either listen to that podcast or check out the transcript, which we ran on The Ringer. I wanted to talk. I'm in Boston. I went to game 1 of the World Series last night. Always a fascinating experience. It's a totally different everything at the World Series. It takes way longer to get in. It has a different energy. It's got weird pockets of fans of the other teams kind of spread around the field. It is absolutely packed to the gills. It takes forever to play. I think the game started maybe, 10 after 8 East Coast time, and we were still there after midnight. And there's just a grind to it. It's freezing. It got cold. It wasn't that cold when we started the game. It was it had rained a little bit earlier, and then it got cold, and then it was all right. And then around 10 o'clock, it just dipped and it got cold. And that can go one of 2 ways. I remember in the 2004 World Series, one of the Cardinal games, I went to both games at Fenway. One of the games was so cold it actually ruined the crowd. The crowd was just a shell of itself. And last night, I actually thought, and maybe it's because they have even more people crammed into Fenway now, I actually thought I thought the energy was really good, and everything led to this great moment in the eighth inning. Red Sox were up by a run. They had Baez in on the Dodgers. He gets 2 strikeouts in a row. There's a guy on base. And 2004 playoff hero Dave Roberts takes out Baez and brings in the lefty Wood against Devers, which was weird because we were just going to immediately pinch hit for Devers and put Eduardo Nunez in. And I just felt like Baez just looked unhittable. And now you're bringing in Wood, who I think had given up like 14 homers this year, but I don't know if he'd given one up to a lefty yet. So that's why they brought him in, but we were clearly going to switch. So he takes Baez out. Now we have a matchup that was potentially better. And you know what happens next. Nunez cranks one. Crowd went absolutely apeshit crazy, and it was a great moment. It was clear they're going to win the game after that. Kimbrel came in the ninth and looked good, so maybe there was something to the tipping pitches. But game 2's tonight, and not really sure what to expect from the David Price thing. I think the Red Sox fans, it's been a love-hate relationship over the years. In a weird way, it almost feels like he's better off pitching not in Fenway, but on the road. On the other hand, he can win the fans back tonight by doing anything. And I do feel like, you know, there's a chance now to grab this series by the balls. Because if you go up 2-0 and then you go 3-4-5 in LA, but man, that 3-4-5 is really tight, you know? All of a sudden, there's so much pressure on that game 3 for the Dodgers if they're down 2-0. And even if they're down 2-1, it's still the same. They almost have to win 3 and 4 to stay even, because you don't want to have game 5 be the Red Sox up 3-1. So it's weird. It goes without saying you only need to win 4 games to win a series. But winning that game 1, you just feel so much better after you win that game 1. You know you only need to get 3 of the next 6. I am not 100% sold on this Dodgers team. I always judge this stuff by who am I scared of when they come to the plate. Definitely scared of Machado, and the Red Sox have their own history with him. Scared of Turner a little bit. He doesn't really have the power as much, but just is somebody who seems like he comes up with line drives when it matters. And then Bellinger obviously is a little scared, but that's really it. You go on through, and then the Kershaw thing. I was watching First Take this morning because I'm on East Coast time when I come out here, and you know, ended up putting in ESPN. It's actually a normal time to be talking about this stuff versus the West Coast. It feels a little stale by 8:00 in the morning West Coast time. And they were just killing Kershaw. And I gotta say, like, normally I don't like to overreact and, oh, this guy's a choke artist and all that stuff. But man, the body of work and for what they're paying for and what they're counting on him, and for the fact that he is, by all accounts, one of the best regular season pitchers of all time and a generational starter. It is bizarre, A, how kind of spotty he's been in the playoffs, and then B, when you're going against him, you feel like you can hit him, which is just a strange experience to, you know, like when the Red Sox went against Verlander in the Astros series and touched him up a little in game 5, got the big homer that barely went over the wall. I was so much more scared of Verlander than I was of Kershaw, because it does feel like, for whatever reason, postseason baseball, things slow down. Everyone is scouted so meticulously. It feels like you can get to him, you know. And I'm sure the Dodger fans feel the same way about Chris Sale, but they should, because Chris Sale is just not right. You know, you're watching, could feel it in the stands yesterday, watching the miles per hour in the first inning, and he's like 93, 94. And you're like, oh man, he's just not the same guy. So if the Red Sox can somehow win the World Series, getting 4 innings from Sale last round, and then 4 innings of whatever else happens this round, I'd be astonished. I think the one thing that's really helped them in the postseason has been they have the ability to bring in the starter who's 2 or 3 days away to pitch a key inning. And this has happened over and over again. And if you watch him during the regular season, which I did, obviously, and I was complaining about this the whole time, I was so nervous about the 6th, 7th, 8th innings because we just didn't have enough relievers that anyone trusted. But now you get to the playoffs and you can pitch Nathan Eovaldi in the 8th, and he's throwing 99, and he's comfortable. And that's just an option they did not have in the regular season. And I think they've done this now 5 times. And each time it's been successful. And more importantly than that, just takes so much pressure off of everybody else. You don't have to worry about, going crazy with Kimbrel and pitching somebody like Barnes or Brazier 2 innings. And I think the biggest thing with this Red Sox team is just how many people are involved in the success of now you have 3, this is their 8th playoff win. How many different people have been involved in the success of that, which is really what you look for when you have a baseball team. It's not a star-driven sport. It's a lot like football now, where it feels like at some point success touches 16 to 19 guys on the team. I remember in 2004, you go through that and it was like every guy contributed. It was impossible to say who the hero was. Ortiz was the hero, but was he more important than Derek Lowe on 2 days rest, pitching 6 innings in Game 7 and things like that? There was 19 guys who had some sort of major impact. And I think Cora really knows this roster. Cora is the best manager I think the Red Sox have ever had in my lifetime. He really knows the roster, like over and over again, makes the right moves, has a way of keeping people involved, even when they're not going to play in the game. Like he talked last night about Nunez, how he really wanted to start Devers in Game 1. Devers has been playing well. It didn't matter if it was lefty-lefty. He just felt good about the matchup. But he also went to Devers. He went to Nunez and said, hey, man, you're not starting, but be ready. There's going to be an at-bat for you in this game. Be ready for it. And Nunez came in and did what he did. I think the biggest thing, going back to Fenway, and I hadn't been back. I was here last year, but it's just over and over again, especially in the World Series, marveling at how much it's changed in that whole area. And, all the bars and the restaurants that it's just built into this cottage industry now. I sat along like third base left field line last night, and I was actually almost caught the Benintendi double that bounced in the stands, bounced 1 seat away from me. But crazy to just be able to walk out. I still can't get used to it compared to what the place used to be like, where you can just walk out onto the old Yawkey Way and just cross the street and go to like the Giant Pro Store and things like that, and then just come back in the ballpark because they shut everything off. They've done a nice job of maximizing all the territory. It still feels like it's not entirely legal. There's just so many people crammed into such a tiny place. The seats are still going in the wrong directions. It's still an armpit in a lot of ways, but it's a lovable armpit. And they have done a really nice job of just making everything better and making everything feel modern, and while keeping kind of the heritage and the DNA of the ballpark. And I've been going to that place since, I don't know, 1972. I think my dad was carrying me when I was like 3, and still get a rush seeing the wall. Still get a rush of seeing the park. And there's just not that many parks like that where you walk in and it's like, oh man, it's like going to your grandparents' house or something. It hasn't really changed, even though it's changed. And when you see it kind of decked out for the World Series and the energy that's in there, it's really special. It's really, it's really great. I think Wrigley has that. I don't think Yankee Stadium, the new one, I just don't feel like it's the same. Trying to think what else. It's really just Wrigley and Fenway now that has the history combined with how cool the stadium is. Pac Bell, whatever they call the Giants place now, I think that stadium's pretty cool, but doesn't have the history. Obviously, it's only been 20 years. So, pretty cool night. I heard supposedly tonight is going to be just frigid. It's just really like insanely cold. So, of course, this will be the game that goes 14 innings. But people bundle up. It's weird because you got hats on and all that stuff. And the sound isn't as great because you're wearing like whatever, a hoodie, and you got mittens on. So it's a little harder to make noise. The section I was in, we were torturing Manny Machado, who Red Sox fans just do not like for 100 different reasons. Easily the least favorite Red Sox opponent right now. I call this the A-Rod Award for the annual least favorite Red Sox opponent. Machado, runaway winner this year. A-Rod probably won, I don't know, 4 or 5 times. The funny thing about A-Rod winning was He wanted to play with us. He was willing to give up $25 billion after the 03 season to come play with us. And it almost happened, and Major League Baseball blocked it because took a pay cut. It was really kind of a crazy, honorable, cool, competitive thing that he was doing, giving up money to play for a better team. And the Red Sox fans still tortured him for that entire decade. And it was great. And he deserved it. But Machado is the number one. And he was doing this thing last night where he had his hand in his back pocket, which I put on my Instagram story, where between pitches to keep his right hand warm because his left hand was in his glove. He was putting his right hand in his pocket. So we had people in our section say, "Hey, man, stop picking your ass," and just like torture him. And by the 8th inning, he was cold and mad, and he started like kind of glancing over and stink eyeing us, which word of advice, don't do that in Boston. Just not good. It's like feeding filet mignon to a pit bull. So Manny's glancing over and stink eyeing, and it's just giving everybody energy, and everybody's so cold and tense from the game, and focusing it on Manny. So that was pretty funny, and I think tonight he's gonna take a similar whipping. I had Mookie Betts, the MVP bet, and plus 750. I talked about that yesterday. Benintendi was like 20 to 25 to 1. You knew some random hitter was going to win it. It's not going to be a pitcher. So I thought it would be Betts, Benintendi, but who knows? But I think I call him Benintendi, by the way, and I take crap for it. It's part of my pronunciation dyslexia. I know it's Benintendi, but I just say day. Just bear with me. You've been with me this long. I have some pronunciation dyslexia. It's going to be a weird hitter. Maybe it could be Nunez. Who knows? Maybe Nunez will hit 4 homers in this World Series. I don't know. Maybe it'll be somebody in the Dodgers rallying back. But we'll see how it goes. It's going to be the Dodgers. The Dodgers scene for tickets this weekend is between that and LeBron. I think anybody who is in the ticket business is probably really enjoying this whole run for LA sports, because the Dodgers thing, with all the Boston transplants that are in LA combined with all the LA people that would want to go anyway, it's an absolute shit show for tickets. Which brings me to SeatGeek, because I've been using SeatGeek. They've been involved going back to my last podcast. I've been using SeatGeek since forever. And what I did was, SeatGeek has the color-coded charts. You can go in early, you check out the market, you check out the prices, and you sort it by deal score. And it basically says, like right now they have a low, this won't be there for long because it's got a 9.9 amazing deal, which means somebody's trying to unload the tickets. They have a Loge box 115 for 9.9 and 9.9 out of 10 deal score. That will not be there that long. Usually it's around 6 or 7, but you can check out the markets. The markets tonight, because it's going to be cold, are actually a little bit low. But then you go to game 4, and the game 4 is hilarious. They have the green. The green is good when you go to SeatGeek. If it's dark green, that's great. The prices are expensive. It's going to be very hard to go to these games. I went and I got tickets on SeatGeek for game 2 because I'm sitting with my buddy Sully yesterday and today. Shout out to Sully. What are the odds? I have a friend from Boston named Sully. But I had to get tickets for my dad. So I got him and my Uncle Don tickets for tonight. Did that on SeatGeek. Did it game 4 as well because my son wants to go. So I'm taking him. And, you've been hearing me talk about it. It's the best app for buying and selling tickets to sport events, concerts, and more. And if you haven't joined yet, for $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase on any game or sporting event, use promo code BS. Download the SeatGeek app or go right to SeatGeek.com. Here's an interview I did with Hasan Minhaj, who's great. This was his second time on the podcast. Really thoughtful. One of those guests that you don't intend to get in this serious kind of life talk, big picture, intense conversation. And you just can't help it when you're talking to him. By 25 minutes, you feel like you should be sipping scotch and sitting by some fireplace as he's yelling at you in a ski lodge. He's just really fun to talk to. I believe in his show. I actually think his show has a chance. And we talked about like how hard it is to launch a show. I have personal experience from launching a show and not doing well. It is one of the hardest things you can do on TV. We talked about that, the obstacles, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Here it is. All right, Hasan Minhaj is here, and it is near the end of September, and I don't know when this is running.
Yeah.
So if anything weird happens in the NBA, don't get mad at us.
It'll drop. Yeah.
If LeBron shaves his beard and it turns out he has a tattoo, like a Mike Tyson tattoo in his face.
Yeah. That'd be
anything.
Crazy. Yeah.
Are you okay? You're the biggest Sacramento Kings fan I know, other than Riley that works with us. I only know 2 Kings fans. Total? Are you okay with this LeBron Lakers thing?
I mean, I'm just like, I was talking to my buddy Smear about this. I was just like, the league has changed. It's just a different era from when I grew up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Where I don't understand, like every year they just change the decks of all the teams. It's like Madden level of just like, hey, let me just swap around the players. Like, what if? Let's move them here and see what happens.
Chris Ryan, who writes for The Ringer, was saying this week that it's like the soccer transfer thing.
Oh,
where the guy just says, I want to go here.
Yeah.
And then that's it. You have to trade.
Yeah.
Nobody really says F you.
But what are the players playing for now? Because the way we define like legacy and greatness, it's all changing.
Do teams even matter like they did anymore? It seems like the individual now trumps the team.
But like, yeah, totally. And then if you're a kid, like, how old's your son?
My son's 10.
So I remember
he just roots for players.
I remember being 10 and getting $40 from my parents to buy a champion replica jersey. Remember the replica jerseys?
Those are back.
Deal. It was $40, $45 at the time, right?
Yeah.
How do you do that now? Like, you could potentially buy a Kyrie jersey this year and be like, is this going to last? He's going to get traded. Whereas when I bought a Sonics 40 Sean Kemp jersey, that had shelf life.
You figured that you got at least a decade out
of
it.
Yeah, until he picked up cocaine. I had 10 good years with it until the coke happened. You know what I mean?
Maybe the shoe companies will just release individual player jerseys, and that way they work no matter what the team said.
Oh, yeah. That'd actually be a good
It's just
idea.
a Kyrie Nike #1 jersey.
Yeah, and you're just like, all right.
Or whatever number he is now.
Yeah.
These are weird times. I think I've talked about this before, but I think it just ties into where the culture is now and where 20-year-olds are in general. People at the 20-somethings.
Yeah.
Tommy's generation. They just, they play it by ear.
So what?
I like it over there. I'm going to go there.
Yeah.
I like that girl over there. I'm going to go over there.
Oh,
I like it this way. I'm going to go this
swipe
way.
culture, but for franchises?
Swipe culture.
Yeah.
I think we're in the swipe culture era.
Yeah. But then what lasts? That's what I'm really trying to figure out.
I think nothing lasts.
Man, maybe that's just like, remember you used to listen to an album like that? I can't tell you how many times I listened to like Notorious B.I.G. Ready to Die. Both albums, both side 1.
All the way through.
Side 2, all the way through. And now we just live in the 7-track era.
Playlist era.
Yeah, but albums are 7 tracks. People are like, oh man, did you listen to the new Nas album? I'm like, yeah, it's fine.
Dude,
had you taken like another 15 months to work on it, it would have been great.
Right.
But then it truly doesn't matter because you just have that weekend to sort of have attention.
Or it's a 26-track album that has so many songs.
right.
You're
just like, this should have been. No, you know what? You know the one person in music that actually does have lasting power is Kendrick. I still listen to Damn. Damn is an amazing album.
I think Drake has become underrated. I do think there's some. I think there's some Drake LeBron parallels.
What do you mean by that?
Because he's been really good for a long time now.
Yeah.
In a business that you're not supposed to be cool.
Drake's won a lot. LeBron hasn't won a lot.
True. LeBron had the 4 MVPs, right? So Drake has the equivalent of the 4 MVPs. But it's a little like the LeBron thing where for a while we were always trying to point to somebody else who was cooler. And with Drake, it's always like Kanye and then Kendrick. And nobody wants to admit that.
Oh, he's been on the top of the charts for like.
Yeah. And he puts out music that's massive that reaches a lot of people. That's actually good. Like that's the hardest thing to do.
He also understands release schedule. So he'll put out a mixtape and an album almost every year. To be like, all right, I'll get this record playing.
He waters the plant.
Yeah. To be like, hey, pay attention. Okay, cool. You remember me? Cool. Then album. All right, cool. Then I'll tour the album. Oh, then there's another mixtape. Like he just is consistently.
It's smart.
Yeah.
How does that change for comedians? Because, people have to use social to
Yeah.
stay in people's lives.
Yeah.
Some people seem like they do it better than others. My favorite Twitter follow on the planet is Jeselnik, who just all he does is come in with grenades.
Yeah.
Every
he's
tweet, it's
napalm.
like, whoa,
Yeah,
are you sure you should have said that?
He's napalm on Twitter.
He's unbelievable.
Yeah.
But he doesn't really promote himself. He's just comes in. But everybody has kind of a different strategy. And then some people are just constantly pushing.
Yeah.
I'm going here, I'm coming there. Hey, Toledo, I'm coming this
weekend. The touring
weekend.
business is crazy right now.
Yeah.
If you can sort of pop and get over this hump,
yeah.
like if you can rise above the 2-drink minimum and get out of the comedy club circuit and do the theater business is crazy right now.
So you're doing Carnegie, right?
Yeah, I'm doing Carnegie October 18th. We had to add a second show.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's crazy.
How many is Carnegie? Like
2,600, right?
2,600?
Crazy, yeah.
Good Lord.
So like 2 years ago, I was doing 900. That was like my max in New York. And then, it's nuts. The touring business is crazy now.
Who do we just have on? Who's the comedian we had on where we were talking about selling out NBA arenas?
Kevin Hart.
Oh, Bill Burr.
Oh, Burr.
How he was saying how Dane Cook was...
That was a huge deal at the time.
The first one.
Yeah.
It was like, whoa, you're doing the
Arenas.
Boston Garden? Like the whole garden?
But now Sebastian Maniscalco's doing like MSG. It's cool. It's actually, I think it's legitimately
What's the
very
biggest
cool.
venue you've played?
Biggest venue I've played.
You must have done like a 10,000.
Yeah, I've done those big festivals where you'll do an outdoor space and it'll be like, like 10,000 people. But me personally, probably around, when I do Carnegie, it'll probably be the biggest. Oh no, when I do Chicago this upcoming weekend.
Do you have to
so I'm
change
going to do
your
the Chicago
style?
Theater. We're doing 2 shows. So that's 3,000 seats.
Do you have to change your persona at all? Or is it just same thing? You pretend it's not that many people?
Well, for me, I have like, I have the screens and stuff behind me too. So I'm doing like sort of stand up and then I'm also sort of showing stuff behind me.
Yeah.
I've talked to like, Mulaney and those guys about it. You do have to wait for the laugh to come in. There's like a Skype delay on like the punchline and then it comes back. But if you're 3,000 seats or less, you can keep it pretty tight. Like there's this, did you ever go to the Wilbur growing up in Boston?
Yeah.
So the Wilbur, I think, is one of the best rooms because it feels like a comedy club, but it's a theater.
Yeah.
But it has that intimacy where I can still deliver like this and I can hear your laughs also in real time. Those are my favorite. Like 1,600 seats or less is really good. When you get over 3,000, it gets really cavernous, I think.
The delay thing's funny because that's when I used to do PTI when I was in LA and like Kornheiser was in DC.
Yeah.
And there would be that half-second delay where you make a joke and you kind of have to wait, but your instinct is to do this back and forth, but then you just kind of have to factor in the delay.
Yeah.
But that reminded me of that, like telling a joke and making sure it gets to the end.
Yeah.
Almost like the rhythm's off the whole time.
Yeah, it's kind of like surfing. You just gotta have to like, you feel it. You feel where the laughs are. You feel where the applause break is coming, and then you just kind of have to ride it into the next thing. Yeah.
Since the last time you were here was spring of 17.
Yeah.
And you had some good stuff coming. And
yeah.
Then you're on a really nice run. Now you have a Netflix show coming. You won a Peabody.
Yeah.
The coolest award to win.
Yeah.
It looks like it's like this little.
It's like a little circle. You've seen them, right?
I have one. Yeah, we won one for 30 for 30.
Oh man.
It's the one that people always gravitate to in my house because they're like, "What is this?" And it looks like the Dos Equis guy. And it's hilarious.
Don't you feel like a hack when you're there? Because like they'll be like, "Oh, this person embedded themselves in Syria for 8 months."
Yeah,
and you did a really great 30 for 30 on Reggie Miller.
Yeah, that's how when we were there, it was like that.
So he did a documentary about Iraqi refugees that were growing up, and he did a really great 30 for 30 on.
He stopped chemical poisoning in Syria.
Yeah, it's crazy.
This guy did the 2 Escobars.
Yeah.
We were there. It was the same year the Good Wife won randomly.
Yeah.
So Margulis was there, or Margulis.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. We won the same type of award that like the lady from ER won. You know, but, it was cool.
And it's an intimate room too.
It is.
You can actually go around. You know, like most award shows are just not fun. But that you can actually kind of like mingle and like walk around and
The Emmys are weird because they have the sports Emmys, the creative arts Emmys, and then the actual Emmys.
What are the creative arts ones?
The sports Emmys are the worst.
Really?
They are the 7th circle of hell. It is awful. It's like 4 solid hours and blowhard speeches and the wrong things were in every category.
And nobody cares?
No, everyone cares. They're all super
really?
competitive. It's like the
my
nominees are E60, Real Sports, and it's so over the top.
And people are like, am I going to win or am I not going to win? Really?
Yeah, no, and people are getting bombed. It's the creative arts is that night's really long. That was the ones the documentaries were. And then the one that's on TV. Although I don't know why they did Monday night. That was weird. I didn't agree with that.
It was really weird.
I would go Saturday night over
My
Monday
thing
night.
Also, because as a performer, I'm like, let the hosts host. But really, the gig is like you do a 7-minute monologue and that's it.
Yeah.
That's why I still think, this is not a popular opinion, I still think the Correspondence Dinner is the best gig in comedy.
It definitely seems like
you
did that 2 years ago?
Yeah, you have the most eyeballs.
Yeah.
Like the world is watching. And they let you run. You can do 25 minutes. Like you really get a taste of like,
that's
all right,
amazing.
This is what the person's about. Like this is what they really think. 7 minutes isn't enough. I think, but certain people do 7 minutes really well. Seth Meyers does a great 7 to 10. Kimmel probably is one of the best.
Yeah, he's been in those upfronts forever. He's just banging those out.
Just like, all right, I know how to I'll just, kind of work the room and then we'll get out,
I like the Independent Spirit Awards is my favorite hosting thing.
Oh, dude, Kroll and Mulaney killed
those guys are great at it.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed the hell out of it, but I just like that award show. It's kind of like the mellow stoned Oscars.
Oh, yeah.
It's just low key.
Yeah.
People aren't that competitive.
Yeah.
And it's got a nice vibe.
Do you go to any of these?
I don't like
even when you're nominated.
Yeah, if you nominated, you have to go. Otherwise, why would you?
Yeah,
unless you were working it or something.
My wife likes it.
Really?
She likes getting dressed up. And
I went to the ESPYs for 12 straight years, and I always enjoyed that.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
because
it was just
you
100,000%.
They asked me to do that. Jen, remember they're like, do you want to do the NBA awards? And then we were like, just scheduling. We're in pre-production right now, and I was like, no, I want to, but then I also know it is not a good crowd. I watched Anthony Anderson host and I was feeling for the guy. You know what I mean? People are just checking Instagram stories. He's up there. He's doing bits, physical bits. Yeah. You can hear that he had a briefcase. He opened the briefcase. The audience was so quiet. You could hear the briefcase open. When you're doing physical comedy, you can hear the rustle of your own shirt. That's not a good look.
That is a noble effort that it should probably not happen. Yeah. The NBA award show. Because it's it's so far after the season.
Yeah.
At 2 months after the season, I'm not who do you think should have won the MVP? Nobody cares. You've already lived through the finals and the draft. And
you think the players get too sensitive though? I really think everyone's getting too sensitive about being made fun of.
God, 100%. Who wants to be made fun of? Those guys don't want to take any shit at all.
But I think maybe this is the older I get. If you can laugh at yourself, it's actually the most endearing quality.
Right. But who laughs at themselves in the NBA?
There's that one video that got posted about Dwight Howard when he got ripped on Wild 'N Out, and that was where I was like, all right, you gotta draw the line somewhere.
That was rough.
He got roasted bad.
He really did.
Yeah. You know how at the Correspondence Dinner, Barack would let you do whatever you're gonna do. You couldn't follow him.
No.
He would just eviscerate.
Yeah.
You got to do that. Be like, hey, I'll laugh at myself, but you got to come. You know what I mean?
The Jeff Frost did Blake Griffin roast battle.
Oh,
did you see that?
No, how was it?
And Blake Griffin was actually good. I was impressed. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And it was a great back and forth. And then Jeff Ross did the equipment manager punch a joke. He kind of came in off the top rope. It was great.
What was Blake's reaction? Was it
I think he knew it was coming, so he was kind of laughing. But it was definitely one of those whoa.
Yeah. But you have to have a few haymakers.
Yeah, I think for the most part, those guys just get a lot of adoration and have a lot of people in their life who are in charge of just pumping them up. And then on social, it's they're either gods or people are mad at them. And I don't know. They're just kind of in the whirlpool. Yeah. Curry, I think, out of all of them, has the best sense of humor slash attitude, I would say, about it. Yeah, he's like
he'll do bits and stuff?
I think he's the most normal of all those guys. And I mean normal just in the sense of
church or whatever. What do you think?
I could just see him running a bank.
Yeah.
Or I don't know.
He'd be like the best, the coolest manager at Wells Fargo.
Yeah.
Hey man, you want to open up a card?
He'd be like a maitre d' at Medeo. He's just got that kind of. I could see him doing a bunch of different things. Whereas some of these other guys, I think it's tough when you're really tall too.
What do you mean?
Like when you're like Durant's like legit 7 feet.
Right.
There's nowhere for that dude to hide at any point in his life. He stands out all the time, no matter where he is, what he's doing.
I think that Blog Boys interview you guys did was up there.
Oh, thank you.
That was up there in terms of, it was very fascinating.
Yeah, it's weird. People want athletes to be more honest, and then when they're more honest, they get mad at the honesty. So I don't even know how you win with an athlete. LeBron's done the best he's done the best version of it because he doesn't do a lot. And when he does a lot, he sounds super profound. But then if you're listening to the stuff he's saying, he doesn't really say that much, but it sounds like he's like, whoa, LeBron's really, the barbershop show, he's really unleashing. And then you listen to it and
you're like, what's he?
And it's like, people need role models.
No, I think John won MVP for the barbershop show, wouldn't you say? Because he can speak in sound bites.
Oh, Stewart was great.
Yeah, like I'm talking about from cold open.
Yeah.
Hey, John, do you come to barbershops a lot? Only to collect rent. Like he can speak in comedic sound bites. And people don't know this. Television, what you consume as you swipe through the world, it is a visual medium. You have to speak not in coffee, but in espresso. You got to boil things down to their essence.
I would argue he was probably the most overqualified person you could have had in that.
John,
but he can be a guest, he can be a host, like that guy.
But he also had a lot to lose. Think about it. He doesn't visually fit. Again, it's a visual medium.
Yeah,
he's like Candace Parker, Draymond Green,
right?
Then a 5'8" Jewish dude from Jersey.
So you want to be on that show? Tommy,
I want to be
on that show.
I told Tommy, I just got to get my weight up a little bit here. My IMDb Pro has to go up.
Well, Gerard came and did a whole Hamilton thing.
Gerard, oh, that was actually a really funny joke. That was actually a really great take too. Yeah.
I like it. The Hamilton, I've been waiting for the Hamilton backlash takes to happen, and now they're finally happening. Just wait till the movie. The movie's going to happen at some point.
Yeah, they're doing it in the Heights right now. But that's not one other thing.
So the Netflix thing.
Yeah.
You have a show now.
Yeah. You're
going to do how many? Like, what is it, once a week?
It was a big order, 32 episodes.
32 episodes.
Yeah.
Half hour?
However much time we want. You got to give me advice, man. You were in a lot of advice. Yeah? Give it to me, man.
Well, my advice is you have to be a comedian to do those shows, which you are, so that's good.
You got to perform, right? Like you got to
perform. Yeah. Mine was meant to be more just an interview show. Like, and what you realize is that podcasts are just better for that format than I think.
I fully agree. The Act 3 variety show to me is so stupid.
Yeah.
You want to see, like, why would I watch Bill Simmons be interviewed by Hasan Minhaj for 7 minutes?
I'd rather listen to it.
Yeah.
I'd rather listen to it for 50 minutes.
How are you ever going to compete with Joe Rogan smoking weed with Elon Musk for 3 hours?
Right.
There's nothing I can do.
Well, unfortunately, you didn't tell me this in 2015. But no, I think...
Can I Monday morning quarterback?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the thing that you should have done when, like, the one episode that I watched with Durant, Nas, and you, just let that run. I bet there was so much good stuff that was left on the cutting room floor.
We had to cut out 20 minutes of it.
I know you had to cut out 20 minutes of it.
What we should have done with that show is it should have been once a month, and it should have been an hour, and just all big guests. And that's kind of the model that HBO can really promote too. I think that would have the best chance.
Right.
But that's the thing. I'm glad we tried it.
No,
we had some fun stuff on it. But the thing is, like, and you know this because you're about to do it. It can go wrong in so many ways.
Yeah.
And it can, only a few of them hit and go right. Yeah. And you look at the actual batting average of talk shows / shows, whatever, and it's 1 out of every 12.
Yeah.
1 out of every 10, something like that.
Yeah.
I think it sounds like
pressure.
Tell the audience what you're doing with this though, because I actually think this is going to work.
So the show's called Patriot Act with Hasan Minhaj, and it's sort of like a weekly comedy investigative show. If you saw the special with like me and the screens and all that stuff, we sort of put that sort of comedy narrative storytelling style on steroids. So I'm standing there, and every week I'll do one investigative report. That's sort of our stake, and then I'll have sort of a wine pairing with that, just an act too.
Yeah.
Some weeks it's just going to be one act, Patriot Act, one act. It'll be like, hey, we researched this for 6 months.
Yeah.
This is our take on this particular issue. And I play maestro to the graphics and the field pieces. I come in and out. So if you've ever listened to like Radio Lab, it's sort of TED Talk meets comedy investigative report meets political satire show, but it's just me. I really sort of stripped down all the other elements that sort of variety show has, where it's like, oh, you need a guest. Like, oh, no, we don't need a guest. Oh, but you should do sketch. I'm like, I'm not doing sketch. Like Tommy's seen it. I just sort of story tell one specific story and come in and out of all of the graphics and the data.
And it's kind of evergreen, right? So somebody could watch one 2 years later.
It has like of the now.
Right.
But then the shelf life of it is like, hey, this is in federal court right now, but it's going to the Supreme Court. Or, hey, this is what I think is currently wrong with the NBA. And you'll just see sort of trend lines that'll be like, yeah, he's right.
Because I think Netflix has been a hard nut to crack with
Super hard
talk shows. And I think the way you're thinking, I think, is the right way to think. It's got to be stuff that feels like it's attached to now, but I could also watch it 5 months from now when I watch 10 in a row.
Yeah, if you want to watch, a thing on, legalization of whatever, marijuana or whatever, you're like, man, it's going to still be a thing. Or the census report coming up in the 2020 elections, you're like, yeah, that's a thing. Gerrymandering is a thing.
How many writers and all that do you have?
It's actually more news team, man. Our news team is like, so it's like we have 8 to 10 senior news team members, like hardcore journalists from, Vice, New York Times, opposition research reporting, like nerds, like hardcore, like, hey, we found this report. You need to talk about this. And then we have like 6 comedy writers. To me, like the biggest thing is, do you have a piece of information that you don't know?
Right.
Like, what are you giving me that I don't know? That's what I felt was so great about your book. Like
deep dives.
Give me something I don't know. Where you're like, did you know Bernard King averaged da-da-da-da-da in the first 12 minutes of action? You're like, no one knows this.
Yeah.
And then you also paired it with a take. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
So it starts in October and then it's 32 straight weeks?
We're not doing 32 straight weeks. We're going to follow like sort of a similar programming schedule that's your weeklies have, where you're on for 8 to 10. You take some time off.
Got it.
You reload. It's just, it's so graphics heavy. It's a show. Like, as I'm going through a headline, we have like over 168 graphics cues per act. It's nuts. Yeah. You know how like when you would do an act 1, you would go to camera 1, you'd have an over the shoulder. And be like, and that's why LeBron looks funny in a hat. And then it's a Photoshop of like LeBron. This is like, when I'm telling you, like, so I went to the Cato Institute, you'll see the report scrolling through behind me, stuff is highlighting. It's like a full-on interactive show.
And we didn't even mention the big wrinkle. You're naked during this whole show.
I'm butt naked the whole time.
That's going to be weird. Nobody's done that.
And we're shooting in 4K, which is like kind of crazy,
Here's
in 190 countries, and it's going to be a lot of exposure.
So no guess.
Why?
I'm with you. I support it.
Unless there's someone who services the act itself.
Yeah.
So there's some guests that we have on deck, but it's like they service the act. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm not just going to be like, and now from Jane the Virgin. She's here to promote her show.
I always make fun of Kimmel about that. After all these years, it's still like, now you know her from Manifest on NBC.
Yeah.
Here she is.
Yeah.
And it's just, I was like, come on.
Yeah.
How is this still the format in 2019? But the thing is, they're grinding out 4 hours a week.
That's a whole
fucking hard.
Beast. Yeah.
Sometimes it's 5 hours a week. It's really hard.
Yeah.
And especially like you have to appeal to the audience that's there. That's a lot of tourists.
Yeah. But I firmly believe, like, this is just the advantage I have, is I feel like the variety show itself, minus the lasting institutions you have, your Starbucks and your McDonald's, basically your Kimmels and your Conans and blah, blah, blah. But even they're starting to pivot. I think that people go to these shows for highly specialized experiences. Like Seth Meyers' show, I think he loves doing a closer look. I think that's his favorite thing. It should just be called A Closer Look with Seth Meyers, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Like the show should be that. Like Oliver's show, I think he loves doing the deep dive. And so to me, I'm like, let this show, number one, play to my strengths. And then number two, not be swimming upstream against what Netflix is trying to do. Like the medium is the message. So make the show for Netflix. Another thing too is like, I think people haven't taken advantage with Netflix is the white space. It truly is a global platform. It's one of the few things that speaks to everybody around the world.
When they have that algorithm too.
Yeah, and I just don't think they've had a talent that can sort of speak to both of those things. So we're choosing headlines on purpose to be like, no, nobody's going to talk about Brazil here in America. They're going to be like, how's that going to connect to, you know what I mean?
That's smart. Yeah, and they also, they get all the data for where people are watching when. The Netflix algorithm is both powerful and amazing, but also a little bit creepy.
Terrifying, yeah.
Can I tell you see it like with the horror movies and the teen movies they do, and it's like clear that they've, when they know something works, they're just, all right, let's make
let's more of these. Yeah. The only thing that scares me is that people go to Netflix to like escape reality.
Yeah.
And like my show's pretty
tense.
fucking real.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like there's jokes, but it's like, hey, these are real things that are happening in the world. That's a variable that's out of my control. I can't control that. Do you know what I mean? Of like, what if people think it's too smart or whatever? But
you just want it to be really good.
Yeah.
And then it'll take care of itself.
Yeah, that's what Jim tells me all the time too.
Yeah.
Showrunner. He's just like, just make it great.
Quality wins. I mean,
Yeah.
The thing is with the show I had, it wasn't good enough. And it's like now I go back and I'm like, I wish I'd done this, that, but in the moment I didn't, and it wasn't good enough.
But did you, before you press publish, did you feel like it was good enough, or in your gut?
Once you're too into it, you can't tell anymore. I don't think.
Yeah.
I think once you're too deep. It was saying the worst part of that happened with my book, which luckily actually did turn out to be good. But
basketball book?
Yeah, but it's like there hits a point where you're the only, it's 700 pages and there's all these different puzzle pieces, and it's like I can't even see this anymore.
Who's your counsel
for the book?
For everything.
The book was, I basically didn't have one.
I remember in your foreword, you're like, this is like gallons and gallons of coffee, Adderall, and just my sheer passion. Like, by the way, like that was one of my favorite things. Like, I don't think people understand. It's like, yeah, sometimes as a creative, you just have to black the fuck out, and you have to do that. It
was rough.
But I have my co-creator of the show, this guy Prashant. He really is like he's my Tex Winter. He's the guy who's like, all right, man.
It's really important.
It's really important, man. I'm very lucky. That's like a variable that people don't talk about enough.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Someone kind of to be like, you have to have a Brennan Chappelle thing. You just have to have an offensive coordinator to be like, look, man, this is insanity, or this is the one.
Yeah, it's funny. We have that. We didn't get there with the TV show, but we have that at the Ringer. This is one of the reasons I thought it would work. Like I had the inner circle that I knew was like the right inner circle to be like, all right, we can make this. Here's what we can do. And I also have all these people that I trusted to help with it. And honestly,
how did you find those people? Just organically?
Graylin. The first 4 anyway.
But that was killer what you did there. Like cultivating like this sort of minor league to major league system of like, okay.
Yeah, it did say it's harder now than it was like the Graylin. There were so many good writers that were available. People were just bad at looking for writers in 2010 and 11. And now people are better at it. I think Twitter helps.
Yeah.
I think, if there's a good piece now, you'll see it on Twitter or you'll get forwarded to you.
Yeah.
Wasn't really the case as much last decade. So there were just people that were good that were just kind of waiting for the right team to go to. Now it's a little bit harder. It's the same things with comedy where
there's a lot of shows that are like that are sort of in that vein.
And that can be kind of fall through the cracks.
And you can find that sort of, this writer has a blue check on Twitter. They're really funny, blah, 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 blah. I just keep thinking about that. Where's the white space? I keep trying to pick stories that are sort of bespoke to me. Do you know what I mean? That it's just like, nobody's going to touch it. They're either too old. Sorry, I mean, pardon me. They're too white. They're too like, they're not going to want it. This is tricky territory. You know what I mean? When you get into sort of like the race and this and international politics and
it's funny, like there's so many tricky territories now. This is probably the best time to do this show if you're willing to
pull it off. If you can wield the lightsaber properly, yes. Because I think a lot of the comics get caught up because it's just like, yo, are you a Padawan or a Jedi? Because to engage in this warfare, you need to be a Jedi. But now with Twitter, everyone's like, I got to take.
Yeah.
Let me tag in. And it's like, I don't think you should. That's why I stay quiet a lot on Twitter, because it's like, I'm not ready for warfare in this way. Have you noticed there's beef rappers and there's studio album rappers? Kanye isn't a beef rapper. He's a studio album rapper. That's my thing too. I'm a studio album comedian. I'm not a Twitter beef comedian. I'm not good at that. So I try to just
trying to think who's a good Twitter beef comedian. I mean, there's people that definitely get caught up in whatever the outrage society topic of the day is.
Yeah, and then like a blog post will come out, then they'll respond to the blog post and they'll do their thing, they feed off of that energy. That's like part of the brand or persona.
I would say 2018 has the most landmines we've had with just commenting and doing comedy and being a public person, and especially like the sexual politics that have been going on and the Me Too, all that stuff.
Yeah.
people rethinking the boundaries of not only the way we behave now, but things that happened 25, 30, 40 years ago. It's so tough to talk about.
It's out, but I think the thing is we just gotta. Everyone has to. I try to look at it positively. You just have to elevate your game.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? You know, it's just like
I was thinking about it more like as from a comedian standpoint, right? The role of the comedian.
Yeah.
Dating back to
sure,
medieval times is like,
sure.
All right, now this guy's going to come in. He's going to lighten the mood a little bit, and make you think.
Yeah.
And now it's in 2018. I'm not sure how some of this stuff is like can't be lightened.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like politics has gotten so ridiculous that it's like you can't out-satirize that.
No, I don't.
You know what I mean?
I don't know
It's
how
really
SNL
hard.
even
So the
is going to
pendulum
do
has to-
Trump again. Like, what are we parroting?
Yeah.
But that's why I like sports, because sports is so definitively. I hate the Patriots. Not I don't hate the Patriots, but like the Patriots lost the Lions last night.
Yeah.
People just hate the Patriots.
Yeah.
And it was everyone bands together. It's like, yeah, they lost. And,
yeah.
and like LeBron goes to the
Yeah.
Lakers. That's this big moment you can share
Yeah.
with all these people. And
It's the one thing. Look, sports and art, movies, right?
but
Those
even
are the two-
movies are more polarizing.
No, but
now.
there's the two things that we can argue about. I could be
Yeah.
like, man, you're an idiot. You think Back to the Future is a good movie? You're an idiot.
Right.
And be like, hey, you want to go get a drink? But religion and politics, oh my God.
And
like-
music. People argue about music.
Oh, yeah. And they take it personally. I would say religion and politics are the two where it's like.
well, religion
hey-
and politics too worse,
Yeah.
but music somewhere probably between these sports movies.
Right.
But people take music really personally,
Yeah.
not as personally as politics and religion.
Yeah. Yeah. Which
I would say
I
religion's
still-
the last rail. Politics is probably next.
yeah.
I don't know what's.
I wonder if Carlin was alive, how he'd handle all this.
I think
But
he'd
you know
handle
what-
it like Chappelle did.
You know-
I think Chappelle did those Netflix specials.
And he
He's like,
quadrupled down on his
yeah,
position.
I'm gonna cross some lines. Fuck you.
Yeah.
like he really was fired up about
But
it.
you know, Carlin actually, because he was such a written guy. Like, this is one of the best things I learned. What I heard about George Carlin, he would have 3 running documents. One would just be free writing. The second would be like what would then become the workshopping act. That's the second document. And then the third would be like, even though he's an atheist, like his version of the Old Testament.
Yeah.
Like, this is going into the special. It's like, hello, please sit down, period. It was like transcribed what the special is. Sort of 3 running documents. So since he was such a man of the pen in like writing, rewriting, fixing, when he would put out a special, I think in 2018, if he was still alive, it would have gotten all the checks of
Yeah.
like, okay, I cross-checked this. Like, you know what I mean? Argumentatively.
The thing that seems like we're missing now is just that person who's willing to go against the grain
Oh,
in a way that makes you think and just kind of makes you reconsider. Like, oh,
Yeah.
all right, I never thought of it that way.
You don't
And
think we have that right now?
No,
with,
we
like, the
do
Bill
have it.
Burrs and all those guys.
I was talking about from a George Carlin standpoint,
Oh, okay.
like somebody who really comes in guns blazing. Which Chappelle, the more comedy he does, it's got to be somebody who's like an icon
Yeah.
who, but also has the weight.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, even like, I think it's weird because Louis caught up in this, obviously, but Louis was that guy for a few years,
Sure.
who
Sure.
was like, I'll say it.
Yeah.
I'll talk about it. I'll
I
go
think,
there.
I think what's cool is I think there is this vacuum that, not vacuum, but there is this opening that I think my class.
For your generation.
My
Yeah,
generation.
I 100% agree.
Like, you know, I think Mulaney has definitely broken out to be
He's
that voice,
took that spot.
that mantle. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that my era, we're all in our 30s to like, you know, now 40s, it'll be like, there's going to be a guy or gal who sort
It's
of
a
takes
little
on
like
that mantle.
NBA.
Yeah.
It's like when, not to compare any of these guys now to Jordan, but like
Yeah.
when Jordan left and then all these next guys were there,
Yeah.
but they weren't quite the guys yet.
Yeah.
And it was like, all right, now we have Malone and Barkley and Grant
Yeah,
Hill. And
yeah,
and it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
okay.
You know how, like, for me in NBA, around year 5 or year 6, you can kind of tell,
Yeah.
all right, this person's going to be a star. So, like, Giannis, Devin Booker, these guys, to me, I'm like, no, they're going to be the real deal. They got the skill set. They have all that stuff. Now it's like, are you going to put your foot on the gas? In comedy, I would say between years 10 and 20,
Yeah.
that's when you really start to separate
Yeah.
and be like, all right, what are you really about? You can start taking big swings and sort of you hit these big inflection points. So
Who else is in your class?
me, Gerard, Michael Che, Michelle Wolf, Ryan Hamilton. like that's sort of like my sort of like era generation, you know?
It really is like basketball.
Yeah. Yeah. And now like a lot of us, we're breaking off and doing our solo things. We're leaving, you know, when Barkley left the Sixers, we're going to the Suns. You know what I mean? We're just like, all right, let's see what you can do. And now it's like, can you break off and have an MVP year?
Yeah.
All those guys are a little bit older than me. Like Oliver, those guys are in their, you know, Seth, they're older, you know? So
I'll be interested to see what happens to late night shows next year or next decade, because I think you can make a case this is the last batch of the old school late night hosts.
Yeah. I think
Kimmel's probably going to step down in like a year and a half.
You think?
I do.
What's he going to do?
I just think doesn't want to do this for 30 years.
Right. I think Jimmy does. I mean, Fallon. I think Fallon wants to do it forever.
I don't think he would know what else to do. I think it would be really tough for him to reset.
That's such a grind to do it daily. Again, I'm a guy, like I really have to think about, all right, if I'm going to say something, I need time to gestate and ruminate on it and be like, all right, this is the take, you know?
Right.
I can't do it daily. I just can't.
Yeah, I don't know. So like if Jimmy told them, I'm out in February 2020 or whatever, I don't even know who they would replace him with or what direction they would go. I think I just can't imagine they would replace him with a white male. I think that would be like, it would just be so boring at that. Like, come on, take a chance.
Really? You think?
Give somebody an opportunity, you know?
I honestly can't predict it. I can't predict it. I'm excited to see. I'm nervous. We're in the eye, you know, I'm in the eye of the storm. I'm nervous to see how the choices that I make are going to translate or not translate.
Well, the reality is the next decade, instead of late night shows, it might be a bunch of different shows like your show.
Centered around like a
just
theme
8,
or concept.
9, 10 shows that you can get on demand. And the whole concept, because nobody like Kyle's generation, Kyle's 25. Are you 25?
24. Close enough.
24.
Kyle, who do you turn to?
He doesn't watch things on. He doesn't watch things on time.
But who do you watch to get some understanding on the insanity that is the world? Oliver? You probably watch Oliver.
No.
Reddit?
Maybe Vice. I don't know.
Vice?
Maybe Vice.
No, but he
HBO.
watches
I'm a
all the
cord
stand-up
cutter.
specials though.
Oh yeah, if we're counting that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
You'll watch everything on Netflix?
Yeah.
I watch the stand-ups on Netflix. That's really the main reason I got Netflix.
Are you a stand-up?
No.
Are you serious?
I appreciate all that
He's
shit.
just
though.
my nephew. No, his generation is all on demand. So they don't think about like, oh, it's 11:30, SNL is coming on. Like they don't even think in the concept of channel.
Life is a
time.
stream.
Yeah.
Life is a
It's
stream.
like, what's next?
Yeah.
Oh, he has a new special?
Yeah.
So that's why I do feel like Netflix is going to crack it at the whole concept of on-demand comedy is going to be cracked.
I think about everything like Samara, I grew up with all these guys. Like he's one of my friends I grew up with in Sacramento. I think about all my friends. I think about their lives. I think about their commute to work.
Yeah.
I think about the white headphones on Bart when they're on the train. How can I give you a piece of content with the least sort of barrier of resistance to make sense of stuff? That's why when you would drop an article, it would make its rounds around WhatsApp groups.
Yeah.
Because you've condensed something into 15 minutes about like why Kobe Bryant isn't that great. And we'd all be like, well, he's blatantly wrong and he's biased, but okay.
But now that thing would be 5 minutes.
Correct.
I ignored your bias.
Hey, Oliver's proved that otherwise. He can do.
I'm talking about the writing thing. Like,
sure.
I think if I had.
Oh, it's gotten pared down.
Yeah, because part of the concept of when I wrote my column, like in the late 90s, early 2000s, was like I grew up reading these giant, awesome long pieces, and it's I want your attention for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Now it's really hard to get anybody's, and everyone's reading on the phone.
Yeah.
It's not fun to read anything on your phone for 15 minutes.
That's true.
So I think you would have to reconstruct how long that is. But I still feel like the video and the platform of like the stuff you're doing is
so you think the way I'm performing with all the crazy stuff happening behind me, that actually would play too.
Yeah.
Because I keep thinking, you know, like sometimes I'll be in the writer's room, they'll be like, what are you talking about? I'm like, just put your white headphones on. Like, be at work. Imagine your boss walking by. Control tab. Okay, now I'm watching. You know how people at work don't do work? You know when you go to the Ringer and you're all like, "Are you writing your thing?" And they have another tab open and they're watching other stuff.
Oh yeah,
and
they're doing 9 other things.
Yeah, so I'm like, how do you make that compelling or interesting for that commute in or commute out? That's like a big.
I used
thing.
to get in trouble with the page 2 and the 0102.
Yeah,
and it had the big yellow background and I used to get these emails from these people begging not to have the yellow background because it was so obvious when they're reading page 2.
Hilarious.
So then they
That's
had
smart though that you put it in yellow.
Well, then they had this whole printout page. It was like a print page. If you press that link,
Yeah.
it turned white. So a lot of people would read the print pages.
Yeah.
But
I think
now they would just read on their phones.
I think what you did though, which I actually take as like an inspiration, you became a brand identity around, and don't take this the wrong way.
Yeah.
I call them hoopers.
Yeah.
A lot of us who just love sports, we're 24-hour fitness weekend warriors. We have jobs and but we watch sports and pop culture obsessively. We couldn't do it professionally, but it's like our love and our passion. You became a representation of that. That was a white space you filled. Who else do you think is in that weight class?
Well, at that time there wasn't anybody.
But who is now? Like who's the equivalent of that?
I don't know. I think it's all spread out.
Because Peter Vesey is not a hooper. Peter Vesey is like he's a journalist, but he's not what you and that brand represents. To me, like what I want to do on Patriot Act is represent that sort of identity. There's a lot of people in America who look like me. Yeah. Who've either been spoken to or spoken for. That just like American politics is told to them via Stephen. Stephen Colbert's, I love Stephen. Stephen is an OG Daily Show alumni, so am I, but his experience and his identity as an American and his analysis of international politics is very different from mine. Yeah. The way he looks at drone strikes is very different from the way I look at drone strikes. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Or immigration reform, or a lot of these, the Kaepernick issue. So
we should talk about that.
If I can tap into that, I think that could be a new thing. Yeah. And I think we're starting to see that in politics with the Ocasio-Cortezes and a lot of the stuff of like, oh, this is what a both American and international identity can look like. You can be both of these things. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, diversity of opinion, I think we really felt it 2 years ago. Yeah. And when I think people all had their own perception of how things were going. Yeah, yeah. And then it was like this news flash. Like, you're like, nah. Nobody thinks Trump's going to win. And then you kind of realize that there's all these states in America. There's 50. Mm-hmm. They're all different. I remember it was before Trump when I realized this. It was so random. It was like the mid 2000s. Yeah. And I was on a plane and they were running the Jay Leno show. It was like one of the early times with TV where they would just everyone's watching the same show. Flight? It wasn't even Jay. It was like United or something. But it was like when they would just run content for you on the TVs, you didn't even get the control. Uh-huh. And they ran the Jay Leno show, and 2/3 of the people on the plane were like laughing. And I was like, look around, like, what the fuck is going on? Why are all these people laughing at the Jay Leno show? And it was like this epiphany. I was like, it's a big country. Okay. Right. Because we had connected like through Chicago or something. Yeah. Like, all right. Yeah. I get it.
Dude, I love doing that, by the way. When I travel, I love walking around the airport and just like looking at the way people like watch stuff on their iPads, what they're watching. You know, when you do the walk back to use the bathroom?
So somebody's always watching some R-rated something that they shouldn't be watching. Yeah. Just these two people going to town on their laptop and they're like turning it.
Yeah, it's crazy. But then you're like, that many people watch Law and Order SVU. Okay, it's good to know. Like, you know what I mean? You realize that a lot of people watch The Ranch. You're like, all right, that's a thing.
The Ranch. Yeah. It's a huge country. There's 250 million people in it.
Yeah, totally. But yeah, what do you think about the cap?
A lot of people have Netflix though. I'll tell you that much.
Netflix, yeah.
Everyone under 25 has it. Yeah. If they ever just said we're charging $20 a month this month, I think they could probably get it.
Totally. Why are you
even from Kyle? Because I would pay that shit. That's why.
How much would you pay for Netflix?
What were you watching last night?
What's your limit?
Last night?
Yeah, what'd you watch last night?
What did I watch last night?
The Pats game with me.
I did. Yeah, that was last
night was bad because we did Pat's game and then we did a podcast after.
Yeah, I watched the new episode of Shameless and went to bed.
Okay.
I was Pat's game, podcast, Insecure.
That's your show?
I just like Insecure because it brings me in this whole world that I'm not part of.
Yeah. I
just go in, it's like Issa and her friends. And
I watched
like, I don't know any people
I
that.
remember I saw season 2 and I was just like, there's just a lot of fucking.
Yeah, it really is.
Fucking, man. It's a lot of sex.
She got dark in the one last night.
Yeah.
Like she was getting a little stocky.
Yeah.
Let's talk Kaepernick.
Yeah.
Kaepernick Nike.
Man.
All right, so this is happening right now. What's your move on your show? How do you handle it on your show?
I'm not mad at it. I really am not. You know, when people are just like, well, hey, Nike, they have all these problematic practices. I'm like, look, you can do two things at once. Yeah. Like duality is a thing. I know we're living in an age where like nuance is not a thing, but you can do something that is good and also do something that is bad. That doesn't preclude you from, not doing something that's bad. But I remember actually, this is a really cool story. So last year, I'm friends with sort of the J. Cole Dreamville camp, right? So Cole had this this concert in New York, and they invited us out. I went with Trayvon actually.
Yeah.
So we go backstage after the show, and it's me, Trayvon, Kaepernick, Nessa, and Cole, and we hang out till like 4 o'clock in the morning. And we just stayed up all night talking.
Yeah.
It's almost like 5 o'clock actually when we got home. And I realized he was actually still with Nike at the time. We were talking. I was like, hey, you're not, he was in sort of the midst of like all the Baltimore stuff was happening and just a lot of stuff was going on, but Nike didn't release him from the contract. And I just remember thinking, I'm like, that's actually kind of like a cool move by Nike. I don't know what the financials of it come out to, but the fact that they weren't sort of casting him away.
Yeah.
That actually was kind of cool to me. And look, the fact that they timed it out, that's still a bet. Right? Like that, they still took a chance. They still swung. We're like, all right, our 30th anniversary, we're gonna make Colin the face of it. You know the way it is working with executives.
It was pretty ballsy.
It could have backfired.
I was surprised they did it. It was a bigger risk than usually those companies.
And now people are like, well, they gained $6 billion in market share. Look, you're Monday morning quarterbacking.
Yeah.
There's been times how many blog posts would have been written had it backfired and been like, you idiots. You should have never done this. You know the way the country is. It's too divisive, blah, 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 blah. So I give them credit that, hey, they took a chance. The stance that they took was on the right side of history, I think. And it panned out. They're paying him. How else is he supposed to make money? Good.
The whole point of an
I'm
ad.
not mad at it.
The whole point of an ad is to raise awareness for a sponsor.
Okay.
In a way that doesn't disgrace the sponsor in some way.
But
that was like a great ad. It got people talking about Nike for a week. Like just fundamentally, it worked.
But philosophically, do you disagree with me? Is it possible to do something positive and also make money? Are those two? Both of those things have to be antithetical to one another?
Let's take a break and talk from our sponsors. We'll be back after this.
MeUndies.com is I don't know, man. That's the way I see it. I was like, they don't have to be.
I think what we're missing in 2018 is people are complicated and life is complicated.
Yes.
Nothing's perfect. And people make mistakes and nobody says the right thing 100% of the time. And you got to have some leeway.
Yeah. I mean, look, at my Dallas show, like we did a thing where like people could register to vote in the lobby. But some people might be like, well, you're making money off of. I'm like, no, I'm trying to do something good. And yes, I made money. Okay. Like,
Sorry, I wasn't 100% of what you wanted me to be.
Yeah.
I'm only 96%.
Yeah,
my bad.
But we're all trying to do the best we can given sort of the finite amount of time that we have and the resources that we have. So I'm not mad at it, man.
People's expectations of other people have never been higher.
Yeah,
it's unbelievable.
I have this whole thing. I'm just like, look, you're looking for other people to be your hero. You just need to call your dad.
Yeah,
like we need to nip all this. This hero worship needs to stop. Just call your dad or your mom and try to fix whatever is going on.
Nobody's fucking perfect.
Yeah.
But like it's like nobody's going to bat 1,000. Nobody's going to make every right decision.
Yeah.
I think the Twitter mob mentality we have now, if somebody fucks up, says the wrong thing, gives some interview where they didn't phrase things correctly, wrote some piece that they didn't think out correctly, it doesn't mean you should just get taken to the woodshed for 48 hours.
Yeah,
you know?
But
that's the part I don't like.
I think hopefully is that there's going to be enough pieces of content that we all put out there that the vast majority will see that, like, they can see your intonations, your inflections, and your intentions.
I hope so.
Do you know what I mean? Be like, Hasan, when he said that thing about you should call your dad, he didn't mean to like make fun of people who maybe don't have a father figure in their life. What he was trying to say is just try to fix what you have internally in your own. You know what I mean?
But that's going to be a take for somebody,
I mean,
not everyone has a dad, Hasan.
I know, but it's just like
what you're doing is
reductive.
Is you're non-dad shaming.
Yeah. But it's just like my whole thing. I know this sounds my other take to that is just like, look me in. Come on, I know that's not a take, but it's like, come on, like what I was trying to do. Please look at the overall arc. But I know that's not a thing.
I think the most important people in everybody's life right now are the grandparents and the old people because they don't understand this whole world. And they still have crazy takes and they make dinner more fun. And you just leave dinner, you're like, wow, I can't believe my mom made that comment about the so-and-so. But it's just old people. Unfortunately, one of the old people is our president, but
amazing. It's incredible.
In general, we give old people more leeway because they're old.
Sure.
It's like the Seinfeld
Define
show.
old. How old is old?
I would say like over 70.
That's amazing.
It's just tiny bit more.
It's amazing
leeway.
that so many people in power are over 70. that call all the
In
shots.
80.
It's
There's
nuts.
Supreme Court justices that
80.
are like 80 plus.
Yeah. And then if you look at the way like your own parents engage with the internet, you're like, what?
Yeah.
And then this person gets to determine like legislation on a woman's body. Yeah. Like you're just like, this is
My mom
nuts.
is like 71 and couldn't figure out how to get Amazon on her smart TV for like a year and a half.
right.
And we had to keep coming
And then
back.
if you're like, Mrs. Simmons, what should we do about net neutrality? She'd be like, Alexa, what? No, net neutrality, Mom. Mrs. Simmons, net neutrality. What's your take on it?
Old people also focus on the 3 or 4 whatever TV shows or personalities or whatever, and get a lot of their takes from them. Like Bill Maher means an ordinary amount to my mom's life. And
she means
his
a lot.
takes, yeah, she
means
loves Bill Maher, and it's like I can't wait for Maher's take on Kaepernick.
Old people really like me too, though. It's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
that's good.
It's pretty cool. They're like, you're very, they go, you're very, you have a lot of moxie. They go, we like
A lot of moxie?
Yeah, it's just stuff like that. They're like, you're adorable. You're very passionate.
You're adorable, and you have strong takes.
Yeah.
Keep it up.
Yeah.
So the show comes out what day?
October 28th, Sunday. We're a Sunday show.
Sunday show.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Like
Sunday's
a Sunday morning, or
there's no time. So I think that the thing we're going to operate in is that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday window. I like that spot.
How many shows before you go full heat check and do a Kings episode?
Dude, one of the big things I want to do is I want to do a big sports one. There's one that I'll say off this, but that I think is really exciting.
Can we hear your thoughts on the Kings? Because last time you came on, you talked about...
So Bagley was a safe choice. He was a safe choice.
Is that what we're calling bad now? Safe?
Well, it's you're not going to get... It's like when we drafted, what's his name, who won Rookie of the Year, who we ended up trading away to New Orleans. Tyreek. He won Rookie of the Year. He was a safe choice. He averaged like 18 or 19.
Should have taken Luka. He could have saved the franchise.
You really think Luka's going to pan out?
I do. Even when I
Dirk
saw
level?
pictures of him at Media Day and he looked a little doughy, I didn't waver. Did I judge the photos for a while? Yes.
Yeah, I did. I totally judged the photos.
His arms looked a little flabby.
Yeah, he looked like the guys I play with at 24 Hour
He
Fitness.
looked like he had kind of not a gut, but the makings of a gut.
Not a gut. Yeah.
It's like, what were you doing all summer?
Yeah.
Lonzo looked heavy too in the Media Day today.
Yeah, when he was benching the two 45 plates, I was like, what's going on? And he's arching his back. You can't lift the way I lift with my friends. You're a professional athlete.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like when you're with your friends and you're like, put on another 25 and you're like arching your back and you're looking all weird. Like that's the way we look. You know what I mean?
I think Lonzo's probably breaking down because he's probably had so many people in his life be either like, what's up with LeBron and what's up with your dad? Those are the two questions he gets.
Because he has no identity. Yeah.
He has no identity. Like, name your 3 favorite facts about Lonzo.
It's like being like in basketball Jackson 5. It's all about what the dad wants you to do. And you're just like,
he's basically Tito.
Yeah, he's like,
he's really
identity.
talented.
Yeah.
But it's just constantly, what's up with LeBron, man? You talk to LeBron?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
What's up with your dad?
Yeah. Hey, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Yo, how is Shams Charania the most powerful man in basketball right now? How is he breaking all this news?
He's like 25,
He's
26.
like 25 years old. He kind of looks like my cousin. And
yeah,
he's
it doesn't like you guys could be like
he's
second
breaking
cousins.
every major news story.
If we ever filmed a Shams like fake documentary,
get Shams on I gotta meet Shams.
He's always in a suit. He's like a superhero, superhero.
But everybody's just every professional athlete, they're like, you want me to give you my social security number? Sure thing. Like he'll give them. Where are you getting this? These are Watergate level like breaking news in the sports world.
Just wait till he hits his mid-30s.
Oh, he's going to be
10 more years of experience.
That's going to be breakaway
numbers
season.
And
sure.
All that stuff. Well, it was good seeing you. Congrats on your show. I'm looking forward to it.
Thanks, man.
32 episodes.
32, man. Yeah.
God.
Let's do it.
All right. I'll send you at least one idea for season 2.
All right.
All right. Thanks to Hasan. Thanks to ZipRecruiter. Don't forget to go to ZipRecruiter.com/BS. Thanks to SeatGeek, the best app for buying and selling tickets for sporting events, concerts, and more. For $20 off your first SeatGeek purchase on any game or sporting event, use promo code BS. Download the SeatGeek app or go right to SeatGeek.com. We're back on Friday with a 4th podcast of the week. Don't forget to subscribe to The Big Picture with Sean Fennessy. Go Red Sox. Talk to you soon.